Welcome to Ian Cinema, your destination for endless entertainment and unforgettable movie moments. Discover exciting films, inspiring stories, and cinematic journeys across every genre. Whether you love action, drama, thrillers, or timeless favorites, there's always something waiting for you here. Sit back, enjoy the experience, and let Ian Cinema bring the magic of movies to your screen. Die Hard is a 1988 American action film directed by John McTiernan and written by Jeb Stewart and Stephen E. D'Souza. The story is based on Roderick Thorpe's 1979 novel Nothing Lasts Forever, which served as the foundation for the film's screenplay. The movie features an outstanding cast led by Bruce Willis, alongside Alan Rickman, Alexander Godot, Bonnie Bedelia, Reginald Johnson, and Paul Gleason. Surprisingly, Die Hard was not considered a highly anticipated release when it first hit theaters. The marketing campaign even avoided placing Bruce Willis front and center in promotional materials, choosing instead to highlight the iconic Academy Plaza setting. When the film premiered in July 1988, it received generally positive reviews from critics. John McTiernan's stylish direction and Alan Rickman's unforgettable performance as the villain Hans Gruber earned widespread praise. While some reviewers felt the film relied heavily on violence and criticized certain story elements, its thrilling action, suspense, and memorable characters quickly won over audiences. Despite modest expectations before its release, Die Hard became a huge box office success. It earned approximately $140 million worldwide, making it one of the highest-grossing action films of its era and among the top-grossing films released that year. The film also received 4 Academy Award nominations, cementing Bruce Willis's status as a leading Hollywood star while launching Alan Rickman's career as one of cinema's most memorable villains. Today, Die Hard is widely regarded as one of the greatest action films ever made. One of the reasons for its lasting popularity is its fresh approach to the action hero. Instead of portraying an invincible protagonist, the film presents John McClane as a vulnerable, relatable, and flawed character who succeeds through determination and resourcefulness. This innovative portrayal helped redefine the action genre and influenced countless films that followed. Beyond its exciting action sequences, Die Hard also touches on themes such as corporate culture, gender roles, and American concerns about foreign influence, adding depth to what could have been a straightforward action movie. Its combination of intense suspense, memorable performances, and groundbreaking storytelling has secured its place as a timeless classic in cinematic history. Die Hard has been widely analyzed by film critics over the years and is still regarded as one of the greatest action movies ever made. Released in 1988, the film was shot almost entirely on location in and around Fox Plaza in Los Angeles. This iconic skyscraper, located in Century City, has served as the backdrop for countless Hollywood productions. Its striking glass exterior and distinctive architectural design helped create the unforgettable look of Academy Plaza, giving the film a realistic and visually impressive setting. Most of the movie's key scenes were filmed inside and around Fox Plaza, where John McClane battles terrorists in a desperate attempt to rescue his wife and the hostages. Other filming locations included nearby streets, office buildings, and surrounding areas of Century City, all of which added authenticity to the story. These locations showcase both the modern business district and the urban landscape of Los Angeles, making the city an integral part of the film's identity. Today, fans can still visit many of these famous locations. A trip to Fox Plaza offers a chance to see the building's impressive exterior and the iconic glass windows featured throughout the movie. Walking through Century City brings back memories of several memorable scenes, while nearby landmarks help fans relive moments from this legendary action classic. Exploring these locations provides an unforgettable experience for anyone interested in the history of Die Hard and the places that helped bring the story to life. The film begins when New York City police officer John McClane arrives in Los Angeles to reconnect with his estranged wife, Holly, who works at Academy Corporation. She invites him to the company's Christmas party at Academy Plaza, while limo driver Argyle waits outside for his return. Before long, the celebration is interrupted when a heavily armed group of terrorists, led by the ruthless Hans Gruber, seizes control of the building and takes everyone inside hostage. The real-life building used as Academy Plaza is Fox Plaza, located at 2121 Avenue of the Stars in Century City, designed by renowned architect William Pereira and completed in 1987. The skyscraper features a sleek blue glass exterior and a modern design that has made it one of Los Angeles' most recognizable office towers. Situated in the heart of Century City, the building enjoys a prime location with convenient access to major highways, public transportation, and Los Angeles International Airport. Visitors can easily reach the area by car or by taking public transportation to nearby Westwood before continuing to Century City. Today, Die Hard is widely considered a landmark in modern action cinema. What makes its success even more remarkable is that, at the time of production, none of its lead actors were considered major action stars. The filmmakers developed several innovative filmmaking techniques during production, helping create the fast-paced, suspenseful style that later became a standard for the genre. The film's journey began with the 1979 novel Nothing Lasts Forever by author Roderick Thor, which served as a sequel to his earlier novel The Detective. Fox already owned the film rights because it had successfully adapted The Detective into a 1968 movie starring Frank Sinatra as Detective Joe Leland. Since Nothing Lasts Forever was technically a sequel, the studio was contractually required to offer Sinatra, then in his 70s, the opportunity to reprise his role. He declined, allowing the producers to move forward with a new interpretation of the story. The screenplay transformed the novel into a high-energy action thriller centered on a lone police officer trapped inside a skyscraper controlled by terrorists. During development, several well-known actors including Sylvester Stallone, Clint Eastwood, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Burt Reynolds were considered for the lead role, while director Paul Verhoeven also turned down the chance to direct the film. Eventually, the role of John McClane went into Bruce Willis. At the time, Willis was best known for starring in the hit television series Moonlighting and was not yet established as a major movie star. Many doubted whether a television actor could successfully lead a big-budget action film, but his performance proved everyone wrong. His portrayal of the witty, vulnerable, and determined John McClane helped redefine the action hero and played a major role in making Die Hard one of the most influential and beloved action films of all time. Transitioning from television to film was far from easy in the 1980s, and Bruce Willis wasn't considered the obvious choice for a major action movie. At the time, he was best known as a charming television star and commercial spokesperson rather than a Hollywood action hero. His demanding filming schedule for Moonlighting nearly prevented him from accepting what would become the defining role of his career. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly in 2007, Willis recalled that he had almost turned down Die Hard because of his commitment to Moonlighting. Then, unexpectedly, everything changed. His co-star Sybil Shepherd became pregnant, forcing the production to shut down for 11 weeks. That break gave Willis just enough time to film Die Hard. Looking back, he described it as nothing short of a miracle. Willis reportedly earned the record-breaking salary of around $5 million for the role, an unusually high amount for an actor who had not yet established himself as a box office action star. Many in Hollywood questioned the decision, wondering whether a television actor could successfully lead a big-budget action film. Many memorable scenes take place at famous New York landmarks, including Central Park, Wall Street, the East Village, and several subway stations. One unforgettable sequence shows John McClane and Zeus racing to a payphone before the deadline set by the terrorist Simon. Another features McClane solving one of Simon's deadly riddles in Tompkins Square Park to prevent a bomb from exploding. The climactic heist centers around the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where Simon and his crew attempt to steal the city's massive gold reserves. The fourth film, Live Free or Die Hard, released internationally as Die Hard 4.0, arrived in 2007. Set nearly 2 decades after the events of the original movie, it follows John McClane as he battles a sophisticated cyber-terrorist organization threatening the nation's digital infrastructure. Filming began in Baltimore, Maryland, on September 23, 2006. Production included numerous demanding action sequences. During one fight scene, Bruce Willis suffered an injury near his right eye. Although the injury was considered minor, he received medical attention before returning to work. Unfortunately, one of Willis's stunt doubles was seriously injured after falling approximately 25 feet onto the pavement during the filming of a stunt sequence. During production, Bruce Willis suffered multiple facial fractures and other broken bones after an on-set accident, forcing filming to shut down temporarily. The studio covered the costs of his hotel accommodations, while cast and crew visited him several times during his hospital stay. After recovering from his injuries, Willis was finally able to return to work, and production resumed before the film was completed in June 2007. Most of the movie was filmed on location in and around Los Angeles, California, including 20th Century Fox Studios, Central City Studios, and Los Angeles International Airport, LAX. If you're a fan of the Die Hard franchise, visiting these iconic filming locations offers a chance to experience some of the most memorable settings from the series. Since filming locations and public access can change over time, tours are regularly updated. If there's a specific location from a movie or TV show you'd like to see, let your tour guide know, and they'll do their best to include it whenever possible. One question has sparked debate among movie fans for decades: is Die Hard really a Christmas movie? The 1988 action classic stars Bruce Willis as New York detective John McClane, who travels to Los Angeles on Christmas Eve in hopes of reconciling with his estranged wife. Instead, he finds himself battling terrorists who have taken over a skyscraper. The discussion has become a yearly holiday tradition. In one informal poll, the overwhelming majority of participants voted yes, insisting that Die Hard belongs on every Christmas watch list. However, an official survey conducted by the British Board of Film Classification found different results. Around 44% of respondents said it should not be considered a Christmas movie, while 38% believe that it definitely should. A small percentage remained undecided. Interestingly, about 5% admitted that despite the explosions, gunfights, and hostage situation, it remains their favorite Christmas film of all time. Those who argue against calling it a Christmas movie often point out that Christmas simply serves as the backdrop for the story. Unlike traditional holiday classics, the film doesn't focus on themes such as generosity, hope, redemption, or family togetherness. Movies like It's a Wonderful Life explore these ideas through emotional storytelling, while classics such as White Christmas and Miracle on 34th Street celebrate optimism, family, and the magic of the season. During the 1990s, Christmas films evolved into major commercial events with hits like Home Alone, encouraging filmmakers to embrace festive settings even when the holiday wasn't central to the story. Romantic favorites such as Love Actually, 2003, and The Holiday, 2006, are unmistakably Christmas films, but many believe their stories could easily take place at another time of year. Their holiday atmosphere undoubtedly adds warmth and charm while also helping them become annual seasonal favorites. I first watched Die Hard when I was around 12 years old, and it's a movie I've never forgotten. That experience made me wonder what truly defines a great Christmas film. For me, the best holiday movies use Christmas as more than just decoration, and they explore its emotional, cultural, or philosophical meaning rather than simply delivering a predictable happy ending. A recent example is Harvest, 2025. Based on the acclaimed novel, the film follows a complex relationship between two people living in a quiet suburban community. The opening section takes place during Christmas, using the festive setting to highlight both the warmth and the emotional pressure of family gatherings. Instead of presenting a sentimental holiday fantasy, the story offers a thoughtful and realistic look at relationships that don't fit the traditional image of Christmas. The filmmakers have explained that they wanted to reflect the experiences of people whose lives don't always match the idealized holiday celebrations often seen in movies, rather than relying on festive cliché copyright. The film presents Christmas with honesty and emotional depth. Another fascinating example is Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, 1999. Although the film is filled with Christmas lights and decorations, it avoids the warmth typically associated with holiday cinema. Starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, the movie uses the festive season as a striking visual backdrop while exploring themes of desire, trust, and emotional distance. It demonstrates that a Christmas setting can create a unique atmosphere without necessarily making a film a traditional Christmas movie. Ultimately, whether Die Hard deserves the title of a Christmas classic comes down to personal opinion. Some viewers believe its Christmas Eve setting is enough to earn that distinction, while others argue that the absence of traditional holiday themes places it firmly in the action genre. Either way, the debate has become almost as iconic as the film itself, ensuring that Die Hard remains part of holiday conversations year after year. 7 Sugar 2002 is a masterclass for this reason and in my opinion contain one of the best film sequences of all time and the funnel reckoning frank and arrested in awe a French village to the backdrop of the twinkling fairy light and gallows. Die Hard is a Christmas movie at least that is what December cinema audiences have made clear. The 35-year-old Borussia action blockbuster done to the big screen in a limited release and bought in a world class of just under $1 million. Perhaps it could be fans wanting to relieve those with his most iconic role following the actor's retirement from the industry following a diagnosis back in March 2022. Or it could simply be that Die Hard is one of the greatest Christmas movie of all time. Regardless of the why, Die Hard happened proven to be box office hit once again, taking a total of $923 million over the weekend and outperforming several recent releases. The processor originally released in the 198 release, McGlenn became an instant icon of action movie with his bloody west and his sarcastic attitude toward being caught up in a high-rise full of terrorists. Despite having a lowly $28 million budget, the film grossed $140 million on its release, securing a place as one of the highest-grossing movie after year. While there is a continuous debate over the status of Die Hard as a Christmas movie, you will always find it joining a more traditional festive movie in a Netflix schedule, a holiday period for a good reason. Taking place on the Christmas Eve, McLean intended to pay a visit to his estranged wife at her office in the next plaza, but his plans had was sold when the terrorist group led by Alan Hans Gruber take over a building in a daring haste to steal barrier bond. Obviously, like every action hero of the decade, McClane become a one-man army taking out of the group one at a time until he faces off with Gruber as one of the most iconic scene in the action film movie. Following the announcement of his retirement last year in February, actor's family adapted his fan with the news that he had been officially diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. While the news drew over wave of spartan love from both release fans and a former co-star, it brought home the realization that its actor's catalog of movie had now become his legacy. In the last 2 years of his career, Willis produced more than 20 direct-to-video, having decided to give his all in the short term. He had before having retired due to his worsening condition. Despite many of these movies being a harsh blow by critics, Thea will stand alongside Will's previous work as part of a history of movie that a many actor could only wish to have been a part of. Over his 5-decade career, it delivered some forgettable performances from Die Hard on the big screen this weekend. The Die Hard collection is currently available to stream on Hulu in the US and now Disney Plus. In order to the idea has a certain Europe is trapped inside a high-rise with a dream name of the SPAD terrorist. He is all that stand between them and Thea hostage. Give the terrorist leader brain and a personality. Make one of Thea hostage thy strange wife of the cop, and you'd have got a movie. The name of Thea movie is Die Hard, and the star Blue is a releasing in one of Joe's Hollywood action roles where the hero's sure ice dribbed in the first year. So you can see how much time he has been spending at the gym. His new workout who has flown out to Los Angeles for Christmas, and we quickly learn that his marriage deal was put on hold after his wife left for the girls to accept a great job offer. She is now vice president of Thea Multinational Corp, and shortly after Willis make his surprise entrance at her office part to die terrorist strike. J2R, a multinational group led by German Nemia, who is well dressed and has a needy trainer beard and talk like an intellectual, and thinks he is he has associated with. He has a plan that has been devised with a clockwork of procession involving the theft. The Tsessa are skilled and well armed. Only the hardest of hearts could fail to infiltrate a classic re-release for his 20th anniversary with appropriate explosion-defending show and smart electric lines following the bad guys getting shot. It's a film that we see a Cash vs. Y away from Roy Rockers with a certain burger edition. Every pubic wiser know it's a Christmas movie, but not many knows of his unexpected candid to joy from the end, and the turret is again closer to the target. A police New York police detective Johanna Miglin in Los Angeles for any uneasy and a union with his semi-strange wife, having failed to support her career and movie out here while at her a building owned by a Japanese corporation. The whole place is taken over by frantically armed German extremists. The Interindux are led by Hansi Groberg, a Germanist with link to Northern Ireland to New Bravo Front. It's a glorious senior stealer for Alan Rickman. It's a gratitude really sticky charisma that he's seen is not in fact stolen, covered in a suite and music circle, wearing nothing on his top half but a manly vest and a finally not even dead. McGreen hides in the elevator shaft and takes down Glober and his whole crew one by one. The only help he has from the outside at the top a capable cop high-powered Ostershofa area is certainly no help, and a TV news media are needless to say a useful dear. Finally his wife Holia introduces herself to using her married name, and the national order outing is restored. It's an incredible 80s style capsule with hands pointing a fellow effects also illegally at SEC hostess and a coaxing officia worker describing the situation in terms of hostile check with coffee, green a poison pill and white knight, an innocent player in 1936. Johann Scott, son of Adelaide Guardian owner and legendary editor C.P. Scott, did something unheard of for the media here. He gave up his stake for the greater good, after inheriting those newspapers culture and all the financial benefit bar his salary in the Guardian HR, and around 62A and pass ownership over to the newly formed Scott Trust. The trust would elevate to have one key mission to secure the financial and editorial independence of the Guardian, in that means the Guardian can't be bought nor by private equality, not by a conglomerate, and if definitely not by a billionaire looking for a political mouthpiece. Our independency means we can say what we want, report and who we want, challenge who we want, and stand up time when others are sitting down. But this unique model also means that we depend on leader like you from Pakistan to help fund our work. If you would rather a news you read was a result of decision made by journalists and editor, not shareholders or ultra-wealthy tech brothers, then we know what to do. In the mid-late in 2018 I was working long over in and out of frame business commercials, documentaries us needed at an ad agency doing an teaching word processing office manager I spend with my family, but has spent a Christmas with Johann Miglin. What more could possibly be said about Die Hard? It's a modern action classic by a generation's equivalent of a John Venner movie, to the best of my knowledge. Ida does everything perfectly, so much so that his spawn an entire Die Hard blank detective John Slanner eyes and Alicia to reconcile with his wife Holly, who works for the corporation. The building is soon seized by a group of terrorists led by the Hans Glober Rickman in his American film debut, and a twist. It turns out that there's a nothing more than simple bank robber who are offered $640 million in negotiably barrier in a company called McLean who had been in the bathroom during the initial milling is left up to his own devices or safety there. He is assisted on the outside by Alab's power and he is encumbered by several other including a deputy police chief and over he said a couple of FBI agent and an overzealous reporter. Ultimately McLean managed to rescue his wife and saved at him killing a robber by dropping him off the building with the exception of some hairstyle and a couple of effect road. This film has aged remarkably well. It's based on the novel Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Tropp which tells the story of a cop named Joey Leland who visits his daughter who works for an oil company which is soon taken over by a German terrorist group. Dr. Johann Hamana who has since ran into some unfortunate legal problem but managed to give his game here wanted to give the films a sense of joy which is why he arrests this in his film are merely bank robbery and his view terrorism is not fun and a movie about terrorism were more often than not very violent of him but with a bank robber the artists could sit back and enjoy the film without stealing that after all people love a good copper and there is a comic relief to be had among the villain also in this something I have said before with terrorism you're often forced to go political McDerna interest in the character's ideology he simply wanted to craft a great faces of summer entertainment I feel bad for young people who watch it for the first time having been exposed since childhood due to all the glitches pioneered by the filmmaker. The craftsmanship is stopped nurse and European cinematographer Jandabon given the film a wonderful sense of style, geography and special relationship area clearly established and camera work actually helped to create a psychological reaction. At a point in his career release was best known for ABC Moonlighting. He is perfect as Johanna McLean who at the time was a new kind of hero. He was a blue-collar working stud as opposed to a musical-born Superman like Arnold or Lee. His relationship to his wife is what grew a movie and according to McTermott Thea finally managed to get a handle on Thea character when he realized that McGreen does not really like himself very much but like all of us he does not the best he can. He's an underdog and people love you to root for an underdog. Everything you need to know about him can be summed up in one shot. The company has sent a limo to pick up him at legs. He missed his driver or girl and decided to sit in the front with him instead of the back as genuinely human moment. I am not familiar with much of work but Bonnie Morton holds her own also wholly. After Goober like her boss she become the facto leader of the hostess. Franz Gubber has played by Alan Rickman who will go on in history as one of the best movie villain of all time. He is a wordless but he is also stylish well-spoken and clearly smart as one. His fake American accent is not great but his wise is positively. He is accounted for every possible and even some fun of the government's expense when it come to his fake demand. He scene consists of some familiar faces including the late Alexander as Carol Dondrawas. Tony Holmes J.S. of the Sporting Girls is filled with disarmers and the gator it is that girl character actors bring old Well Johnson as humor and heart to the film as STD who has his own character arc that he resolved out at the end he would go on to play a co-pound Family Matter the late Paul Gleason plays Deputy Police Chief the Johnson are played by Robert J. V and Grandel they were overbearing and irresponsible bringing to mind the old line. We need to destroy the village in order to save it. Some have terrorized about the event subtext in his film but I am not qualified to do so. Reporter Dick Turman is played by William Matron and after the Gravity God for playing a ghost bustler. It's amazing he agreed to a play and won. He gets him in the end and he actually plays a minor role in the movie. McShallen cutting to news a reporter featuring no notching and Carson Clueless talking heads as I stood the film has aged quite well the Oscar-nominated visual supervised by Richard Adult and of late Boss Film Studios still a hold for the most part it's not an effect movie per se if filmmakers obviously could not blow up parts of the building Newcombie building scene in the film is actually Fox Plaza in Centuria Plus the day which was brand new at the time and in a typical display of Hollywood accounting. The studio actually showed itself rent, funny enough. I had a job interview in Thea building when I lived in. I did not get a job, but it was still worthy trip. Thea and Academy Lobby is a replica of Franks of Blood, and on DVD 7 commentary production as a Jackson job mentioned the Suba political subtext that the Gypsy Corporation had no nerve to purchase, and he has a music that's scored by the late Michael Scam pays homage to Boda Christmas in Cabri. In addition to Thea Bell, their references to singing in A Reigning 19 Symphony Border were used to a great effect in A Clockwork Orange. Theabat music is mainly used as a theme for the villain in Board Globber and his Blacker joke. It's during the film. Thea's all goes back to the McWish for Joya in the film. After all, the fun of the moment of the non-is old joy. I always enjoy visiting the world of Die Hard. There are nothing like a well-executed action film. Not to get all mushy, but when I think of film like Thea, I think of my dad, who as a trapeze sitting in a TV room watching some action flick on Spike, and my late grandfathers who had a large picture of John when wandered in his pool room. Hopefully his auditions, or for lack of a better word, will continue for a longer term if Hollywood does not suck you up. Guard was amazing action film file, a memorable scene, broken glasses of a businessman getting shot. His big fiery scene with his fierce on his jump off Thea building. I never watched Walker Texas Linger, but he not found he was on Thea show when it was mentioned during a podcast. Listen to and rap 40 save you a definitely a lot of memorable scene. Also hers once said a movie needs the gate to scene to bad no bad ones. I love Thea movie. I did not actually see it until several years of later. I wasn't allowed to see rated horror movies, but can remember one SW for Buddha every time it popped after TV watch it. My first star at film and theater was Ransoma in 1966. I was 13. My mother was always very sadistic about that, but in later years I realized she was maybe a little Jewish eccentric. It was a good student, and Dia never actually thought what movie, and not all rated films are equal. Of course Sid never let me watch Walsa. Something like Basic Instinct, profanity and violence were a little more probably, but only a little. Bonya has been acting since the late 60s. I recognize Hira in the classic days. Shoot heroes did Hema in a private manner role she had no to re-emerged until her like a wheel a critic's favorite. She was a blade today. You can see her in NBC Friendhood playing the inverse of a large extended family. So it was a late August 1988, and he was an out-of-state student moving in, getting ready for the start of Thea school year together with a bunch of fellow out-of-state classmates. We decided to get see Midnight Run at Thea local multiplex, as it was really the only thing to do in the area at Thea time. Unfortunately, Midnight Run was already gone, swept away by larger summer movie affair. Our new decided to take in the Die Hard instead, and Thea remember walking in, thinking oh no, they gave an action vehicle to that moonlighting guy. I was not a fan of Thea show and did not get his popularity at all, and was expecting something more great in every way. The story just stuck you in every term. It was an initial heavy rotation on HBO and Comex. The only S was seen in the elevator shaft, where the shoulder branch on his guna conventionally ends up being 68 long and catching the edge of the fan shaft. In 1988, Horaces were most familiar with it. The brothers release as he was clicking the detective David Edison on the Hita series Moonlighting, and so star F4 square each week with their undeniably chemistry. It was no surprise that Willis would be offered a chance at Thea silver screen. At the time, nobody expected the exempted to become an action hero, so the idea of Die Hard seemed to be a risky venture. However, director Joan Mick knows exactly what he was doing with his actor unknown and known mostly for his comedic skill. After all, Office Officer Joan is an everyman in New York City Cala with a whole lot of attitude and a puna for a vagu. I doubt that I need to expand on the plot of Joy Hard, as nearly every single person is very aware of the fighting of bad guys in the nicer plaza. The Rela Life Rocks Plaza in Century City, California plays a huge role in the film to save his wife and her co-worker from a certain doom. What I will say is sad for me personally. The film had a major impact on this young movie, as he was already a fan of Will. This is really the film that turned him into a modern, a real sense of an average guy that made McGlynn such a likable presence. This was especially true with the trainer relationship he had with his wife Holly. It made him far more accessible than most of the 80s action hero. With a perfect leading man, it helped to the right villain and water villain. It also enhanced Grover, played by a superb Alan Rickman. Grover is the optimum of movie bad. He is cold and calculating with a layer of dark humor without going over the depth. In only a scene where McGlynn and Gruber meet, you really get a sense of these two iconic characters and how they relate to each other. The cat and mouse between the two is especially very well played by both actors. Even many of Grover's minions stand out, including the menacing Alexandra, who gave Will run for his money. This perfectly cast adventures are around the features stand-or performances for a heart as Holy City to co-worker, Savina the Society's brought life by now Willie. These actors work together. Arias never been able to take on such a heavy burden. It could have been a disaster. Thankfully he's ready, willing and able, contented. Of course, it is director Mkatar now kept adding a seed. Every single sequence is here as memorably, including the simple touches that he injected, such as Billy's discovery to Joe, a picture that makes a couple of appearance giving and a little inspiration. It's a waiting and sometimes a experience that holds up just as well in nearly every single action film 25 years later. After Die Hard 1988 release also wins as McGlynn is forced to run across a floor covered in a broken glass. Comic genius overall, Die Hard remains an ultimate classic, and despite how entertaining the sequel artist will always be the best. Let's face it, everyone has been Die Hard, probably even more Judd. Once we all know it is a Christmas classic, an action movie legend, and an absolute thrill ride that is enjoyable. Now it was when it first hit in 1988. But just when you think you know it all and watch it again, you begin to notice new things, and that's when you discover why the film is such an enduring masterpiece. As a score, Die Hard is a land-made and a dark story featuring views as John O'Fascigan, a New Yorker who finds himself dragged in a Los Angeles sky saga happens during a holiday party gone horribly wrong that begins as a typical Christmas gathering turns into a hostage situation as a group of highly skilled terrorists led by the safe hands Grover and Alan Rickman take control, but McGlynn just any go. He's smart, resourceful, and he's determined to save one quip at a time. What really set his film apart from the countless action flakes are followed in this perfect blend of tensions, humor, while many Die Hard-like films capture sudden death, and even the Die Hard sequel, just to mention a few, have tried to capture its spirit. They often show lacking the charm and intensity, and director Johann McGerman masterfully began into his story. Famously, the director did not want to take the job because he thought the story was too grim and mischievous, which is why he tried as possible to inject humor and join into the alterator, including the audio to Joy as body, and at the center he plays a hero which is not just different but relatable and vulnerable to watching him navigate the shows within the door or the gate, and over more immensely satisfying. You cannot forget Glober's dead bone delivers. The King won't be joining us for a GBK. Their interactions, some of liberty and present on the day, were a layer of humanity that free and unwanted. The Sammy thing grinding high-stake action service as a commentary on a corporate gate police and the holiday season may be the subceptual background stuff, but it adds a layer to the film and still work today. Plus the fact that McGlynn is not just fighting for justice but also for his orange life. Controversy. The claim brings an extra layer of emotional stake that elevates the narrative beyond simple explosion and gunfight. I will be showing the film again on Witness Day as part of my film club. I was first given this film aside to myself. Oh well, that will be fun, but is there anything to say about it really? It was only when I sat down to watch the film again in preparation for my chart that I began to discover how constructive this film is. From his iconic score to its poignant editing, from the sub-visual storytelling technique to the intricacies of character development, and even to the clever use of sound which enhance experience like he had never realized before. Die Hard remains a thrilling ride filled with action, humor and story that keeps you coming back for more. And of course, Despite what Bruce Willis might have you said, it is the perfect Christmas movie. Andrea Conwell is a BA-winning filmmaker who lives in and co-creator of Chickasha Film Festival. In '98, It All Begun placed on McGlennon in New York visiting his wife in California. He attends a party at a huge negotia building, and that's when hell breaks loose as led by Hans Gruber take it over, and to know there is only one man that can stop him, and that is McGlennon. This more elastic approach to a hero dominator style was a welcome change. McGlennon was humana and was a vulnerable and quick-witted as well, which was part of the great appeal of this room. Police does a great job as a good guy. Hans and his the bad cast gathered all of the guests on one floor. But Glenn is roaming the building. He uses his police skill to get a grip on the situation and combat the evil force that has taken over the building. He pulls a fire alarm before the police could arrive. Hansi and his group call them off, and the first fire night begin. First kills happen. McClane's sense of humor is on display as he puts nobody into a elevator, and right now I have a machine gun. He adds a sign to the corpse and slam it to the floor where he and the crowd can see it. McClane finally gets the attention of the police. He drops a body on the scare cars. You may remember Johnson from the show as Carl Winslow. Why show was popular so beyond me. That was one of the most annoying and unfunny shows in the history of TV. It was so unfunny that I'd placed in a love track to tell you we know you love, but a horrible show does no to take away from how great Thy Heart is. Thy Heart was plenty of good villain. We have the Kisislavy salesman Harry Alice. Not only is he trying to pick up McClane's wife, but is it just a selfish break? When he finds out that McClane is causing trouble of terrorist, he approaches them and says I can give Anna. Unfortunately he could not convince McClane to hit on himself, and then Hans blow out of the black, and he said an author great villains police chief Grizzle was a great villain in that brave fast glove, and he does equally great here. He continually hits his McClane over the radio telling him to back down, and he turns P with his job because of his allegedness to McClane. He says something to the fact that his power believed the sin. He will be fired, and he will try to put in a laugh track while bringing that annoyingly around. He will be shot, and L is a cut reporter. He is the life of McClears and his wife inside the building, and does it only to enhance his career. He is fake on his camera and off of the camera, which is what many think about mania journalist nails. Royard is an action-packed classic. It has spawned 3 sequel in their eyes. Another on Bruce is a likable good guy, and man is perfect at the villain. These is a perfect film and beginning to a great series to get into the Christmas spirit. Came and I Washed My Heart last night is the closest thing to a Christmas movie that we have. Before you get into the review portion of this day, I have to guide this out everywhere. In my opinion, this is the greatest action thriller of all time. What struck me while watching it last night is that there was no way this movie could be made today. Today's action directors would try to don the movie in excess that drag down most modern action film. They would be halted home in some gear, firework or bullet time. Audio would be drawn into the color or film every scene as a series of intense second shot, or they would be spend how the movie is winking at the camera using self-parody to over some of the more unrealistic or at least moment. I think that's what is missing from modern action flick. Simplicity, dry hard. Number, what happened? It pointed out to be a pop conflict. A likable hero taking down a uncomplicated guys with a lot of explosion and guns. It is so hard. The greatest contribution to the history of the cinema Daddy Flake make, besides giving Alan Rickman and his mommy debut as a hard a good guy with a military law enforcement training finds himself trapped in a terrorist host situation and in confined local by a random chance. He systematically takes on bad guy despite overwhelming God had planned for every possibility except the unexpected presence of our hero makes creative use of local. A lot of Suba blows up. This formula would live on the laser film such as its own sequel to A Harder Dry Hard in an airport passenger F-57 under sake money drain a hard on elevator bus and subway and a speed cruise control Die Hard on a cruise strip and a really shitty movie. The formula was stolen so often that they ran out of ideas and saw a concept of a money-grappling second sequel Die Hard with a vagrants. So we have established that it is the greatest action thriller movie of all time, a classic, but does that mean it's a good movie? No, technically their dialogue for the most part is extremely corny. Of you who power his movie with a blend of charisma and inverted think it is his best movie rollover, and Rickman, who is delightfully awarded to best in a body. The rest of the acting in the movie is possible at best. The film is noticeable on any level except as a Stegehorn made at value system, and something I noticed for the first time last night, and his cinematography is terrible to the entire movie. They are lighting a flare on the screen. This is not done for kind of effect either, like it was for say Terminal. It's just a line, and this really matters for the enjoyment of the film. The only question that mattered is but it is for and yes, Die Hard is awesome. What struck me while watching it last night is that there is no way this movie could be made today. Today's action director would try to drone the movie in the excess that lived ragged in almost modern action film. They would want it to throw in some CGI or wire work or a bullet, or they would be drawn or see a color or film. Every scene has a series of 10-second shot. They would be spent to the movie winking the camera using cell parody to cover some of the more unlastic or glitch moment. I think that's what is missing from modern action flick: simplicity. Die Hard know what people wanted out of a popcorn flick, a likably hero checking down uncomplicated bad guys with a lot of explosion and guns. It's so hard the greatest contribution to the history of the cinema that is flick, besides giving Alan Rickman his movie debut, is a Die Hard formula. A good guy with some military law enforcement training finds himself trapped in a terrorist hostage random stance. He systematically takes on and bad guys despite overwhelming odds, who had planned for every possibility except the unexpected presence of a hero. Here makes creative use of local law, a lot of stuff blown up for some reasons. There has been a debate the last couple of decades on whether Die Hard 1988 is a Christmas movie or not. There is no denying it's an action classic that helped man be as a movie star. But on all the other side of things, people like to argue about this Christmas season of viewing. Married, stop arguing. Die Hard is 100% kissless movie based on a 1979 novel Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick. Die Hard follows New York City Clan as he traveled to Los Angeles to visit his arranged wife and kids. Why? Because it is almost Christmas and he wanted to reconnect with his family. Classy Christmas setup when his wife wholly accepted a high-level job. The company is throwing an office party on this Massa that is until they are interrupted by a group of German robber terrorists led by a radical named Hans Gruber. After slipping into hiding, Rick soon began picking off the gun-killing bad guys. Also they move about the building. Eventually the local police and the FBI get involved with the situation, with Mickey claims receiving help over a radio frequently from a certain cop and they die. Things get more explosive as Gruber becomes irritated. He claims action that are running his plan. Die Hard files on all Klinger with his swinging and Ascos and Johann McTitan lively direction. The sake here gives us an everyman hero in Plana where he is uncertainly and bravely brought to life perfectly by Willis. The character is not a mimesis legend like many of the action hero, but rather a relatable guy stuck in bad situation who just so happened to have some kills to possibly do something about it, and he talked to himself a lot, which I say hilarious. A lot of sporting characters have momentum to shine too. Some cool characters outside of the building are annoying, but a player in a building are interesting. If Umbar's holy wife to wide as clever, a limo driver Hardboger as lazy. The cast is full of refund members. The only who can steal scene from Bill is Rickman. He expertly paints Glover as Sly and a redless villain. The screenwriters ordered Semen. This also insert a lot of playful dialogue and idea of references for the character to explore. MCR is more than once referred to as a crop cope, and he has a more like a creative sailor. There are bias involving a wasa face and toys. and other small things that it could have been a char of a dialogue in a laser hand but actually half pay a very title fill with much energy and violence. He also has the artistic to pay attention to little story detail is impressive, by heart had be as well as brown. Speaking of wrong, the physical action scene are plentiful as he shootout all are cut in fascia exceptionally as a bullet blood and a glass fly, making the actually equally awesome Predator added by the greater technical team finds a right room in laying out the suspense and the mayhem of its surfaces. There are plenty of standard scene but a helicopter and roof explosion scene in particular is masterful. Such artistry helped the film to land a for Oscar nomination effects sound and a sound effect editing. All of the characters' conflict with a witty banter and action suggestion area made even better by inclusion of the Christmas time setting, because let's not forget the part that it Die Hard is a Christmas movie. So let's get into it. The film takes place entirely on Christmas era a holiday party setting. Not just a small extraction of the script which is important because Gilbert chooses that because less people are at the building and again McGlenn is going to be his family on Christmas, so both of the main character has a Christmas involved with their motivation. Christmas characters are songs area referenced throughout the film while the various offices of the building area decorated. Joe as a villain is killed and they dress with us a hate for a joke. Gift-wrapping types play a key role Lena McLean being able to take down body guys in the climax. The resolution even has paper flying in the air like snow while lighted slow plays in the background. Any heroes warmly embarrass each other. So soft going let's all agree Die Hard is landmark action film as well as a festive Christmas classical because as the internet saying goes I do not Christmas until hands go falls from the Nichami Tower. Christmas is just around the corner waiting for the perfect time to jump out and steal your wallet, so I guess it's time to start reviewing some Christmas or at least a winter related movie in the area starting off with a bang, a big loud bang. This is especially a good pick, and since I have never censored it before, I know me you want. John acclaimed Bruce Willis Goldie Plaza in Los Angeles to see his wife Holly and celebrate Christmas with her and their kids, but while he's out at the Nakumi Plaza cap takeover by German terrorist group led by a man named Hans Glober. So it's Noon's love to them without his shoes. No. The promise is simple but great and the execution is pretty delicate too. Ida was entertaining to see McClag get Ida through the different situation. The second writer pulls him in. The story has some nice twist every now and then. Now as in mind for twist but wishes that me a little bite and I like that. The character of Joe Glenn is probably the most relatable action hero ever. Yes. He got all the bad of majority of action a hero but he also feels like a regular George Coleman. He gets his ass handed to him a lot of but still come out on top afterwards. That is pretty realistic. He also cracks some good lines, wrote a movie which just improve on him a lot. He also think Bruce Willis gave up good performances in this movie. Nothing Oscar worthy but it was good for what it was supposed to be. The sporting Carsa was pretty damn good too. First we have his wife, who too good even she did not do much. Then we have who talk with the John over to walk talkie to the movie getting informed on the rest. Next is comeback reporter played amusingly enough by watcher back from the Ghostbuster and family the big man himself. Hans Gruber played by Alana Rickman. He not only gives a great performances but is honestly one of the best movie villains ever. Is a right of DOA and the Joker and whole great villainous so the characters are interesting and the acting is good. The score by Michael's Game is pretty great. Joe did an excellent job with the directing in this movie. Not only very short looking and very good, but you could also see our reaction. The movie looked great in terms of camera work and action and direction. Speaking of the action, Ida was pretty awesome. It looked great and it was well choreographed and was very fast-paced and versatile. This movie also has some pretty great narrated both in irregular lines and cool on the liners such as the always well-known Joker, one of my personal favorite movie. I don't know why it is but it's amused me a lot. Now I have a machine gun. I just love that one. But this movie's India reception has become quite classic. Onward has a 92% positive rating with a fresh certification on Matrix's. The movie has 17 by 100, give the movie 2 by 4 a star, which is not a terribly high score. This movie has anti-810 and it's ranked in a 119 on the top 50 list. The movie was also nominated for 4 Oscar and Thea categories of Best Song, Best Film Editing, Best Effect Editing, Best Visual Effect, Die Hard Action, a good story, good characters, good music and a good camera, and Alan Rickman. So it's time for the final score. And for a Die Hard, my final score is a 952 by Ajan, which grants in the drum roll seal of approval. This year is finally coming to an end, which make this is a perfect time to discuss how Johann Die Hard is not actually a Christmas movie after all, but a classic tale almost 40 years ago. Joan McClane managed to th a terrifying attack on Plaza by Hans Gruber and his team. Joan has had a sense of attempting a crime because of issue in his personal life, or because he is looking to become the next big hero. Nevertheless, he become the son anyway, since I heard Thea clearly set on the holiday. It's become a staple to fash December 25th and closer. While John is attending a Christmas party, however, one can argue that the movie storyline closer. The magic of Die Hard is that no matter what a holiday you celebrate, it's still a great film. Die Hard may be almost 48 years old, but considering the movie seemed to get better with age, one could argue it's fair to classify this section of masses as modern. For those unfamiliar with the Jewish holidays, the 99 days and occurs annually between the November, late December into the New Year, depending on the Hebrew calendar. Those observing use of the large middle candle or should light another candle each night. Middle 9 candles lit only final night, celebrating a successful revolt against the Greek Empire after he reclaimed his second temple. They found only enough foil to light their mandry for viewer. It's burned for ages. Die Hard is not directly tell the story of, but the movie's plot follows it pretty closely. True, the movie explored the once man's attempt to reclaim a massive and influential building from outside using nothing other than limited resources and once powerful mind as Tula Arskaya is initially taken by Thuzia, willing to harm those inside for their own personal gain, with deliberate attempting to kill Thea Hope and preserve one day long run. Clear note to main theme, like the story of Ajay and his army engaged with Empire. The underdog ultimately comes out and manages to end the conflict that initially feels never-ending in Die Hard. There is no doubt that Don McClane loosely parallel the role plays in the story. Joe led by reward, yet was severely aboard both in his trend and body count. This comparison then automatically cast Hans Gruber and his fellow co-Cs as his suicide Empire intelligent and quick-witted in his own right. Hans and his team attempt to take over Plaza purely for financial gain in a name of fast Die Hard. The 14 Salamanders and related, and I saw it in theater with my dad. But I was already aware of how everything in the past played out, so I did with a collection of the first 3 films because I wanted to see what the other was like. It took me a while to finally check out this one that started it in all in entirety, but understand why it's so popular with everybody when talking about it. Director John McYeon, who also recently fresh after played it a year period and originally turned it down a few times, was the best choice to take on a project like this that sounded like the most original idea to based on when the action was not happening right away. Is surprisingly turned out to be beautiful looking with the help of Janice cinematography, who's recently fed out a prayer and originally turned it on a future was the best to take on a project like this that sounded like the most original idea to be based on when action wasn't happening with right away. It surprisingly turned out to be a beautiful looking film since 1988 that Joubert has raised as the hard Christmas movie, while Bruce himself has said I do not. I respectfully disagree. What makes a Christmas movie anyway? I see getting, but no matter how you feel about Jar's place in the holiday pantheon, surely we can agree that is an iconic film that have shaped the modern action movie launch profile care of release and gave the world some amazing fun liner. Well, You Know Christmas Have New York. Johann McClane arrived at Nikki Plaza to jump to par with his Esterese holiday bus instead of cheer hero heartfelt reunion as shows Les Migre finds himself navigating elevator shaft and ers as he launched to one map Mana while gay Rickman and friends armed with denoting a but scaricism and he services we now company Christmas parties are famous for awakened small dog underwhelming and ungable. You don't need a group of addresses led by Alan Rickman to turn a holiday singing into a disaster. John and Sigrid is not your typical 80s action hero. He loses more than he wins. He's not a hucking a mess of mystical or stoic master of martial arts. He is just a cop having a really bad guy and his kind of he is constantly beaten because short and blown up, and yet he does not stop. Not even after walking barefoot over a broken glass or tying himself to a fiery hose and leaping off a building. As a roof explores, he does not give up. He also does not get more charming or less sarcastic. He's an incredibly believable regular guy. Even Willis, a singing role reflected Die Hard and a narrative better known for his role in a TV comedy drama Moonlighting. Willis was reportedly several too many actors down on the list of people who were afraid of the role. The studio was so lacking in confidence in his ability to serve as a lead that some of film's early promotional posters. Thankfully the Carriage was aware it paid for them with a film crossing about $140 million, making it the year's highest grossing action film and 10th highest grossing film overall. But most importantly it allowed us to bask in the grumpy imperfectness that is Bruce Willis as Johann McClane while MCL an overhero and does often feel like it's human gay were denoted that he is not the only good guy in the movie. Bonnie absolutely shine as he is a strange wife. There is no inner distress here. She is a sharp capably follower to Grober repeatedly showing of the gate any determination it must have he taken to be married to Crane for Anya Landform. There's also as power played beautifully by Ricardo Bilcup on the outside all brings a moment of much needed humanity to Thea Corners and Agla's lifeline to Thea Battery Clan. The radio conversation evolved from tense and tactical to heartfelt and vulnerable with power becoming the McCla's emotional anchor and his back of it count most. And let's not forget our girl limo driver with a more heart and common sense chilling in at the parking. Our Gargly is mainly providing occasional comic relief until he finally gets his own hero moment talking John one of the body guys. Every great hero needs a worthy adversary and Die Hard delivers not just one but an entirely rich gallery of memorably villain. Some see that as drawback but I think it worked to emphasize a feeling of that all doors are against McClane. At the top of this post of the antagonist is Grober of perfection body into Bedelia Rickman. Just as McClane is not your usual action hero, Grober is not your average bad guy. He is culture ridiculating, calculating and annoyingly charming and Apollo's kind of a calm and memorable but group does not operate alone. And the rest of the Naga Thea are not faceless henchmen for the most part. They are a colorful mix of personalities that bring death to Thea, and then there is the sporting cast of the antagonist who are not part of team but still manage to make Thea as snorting self-serving low who embody as the force of the corporate success. We have got his super villain Paul Grayson as a lab job. Together these villains create a pressure cooker of conflict that elevate a tenure of Die Hard and leaves you rooting for Mick even more. Global sophisticated romance are paired with the chaotic energy of this new Die Hard just refined with an action movie it could be. It became the blueprint for a whole new genre of storytelling. Die Hard was released in the summer of 1988 and in the more than 3 decades since its origin has gone on to become one of the most beloved action movies of all time. It also turned Bruce Lee into a bona fide movie star and kicks out a successful franchise even it has ended up running itself into the ground, but all of that started with director Johann McClane. He has gone on to become one of the most beloved action movies of all time. It also turned Blue into a bona fide movie star and kick-started a successful franchise, even if it is their test started with his director Johann pitch perfect of an action blockbuster. Today we are going to discuss the movie's ending and why aside from being a perfect button on a classic piece of popcorn cinema, its immense piece of popcorn cinema cements Die Hard as a great Christmas movie as well. The heart senders who is visiting his estranged life Holly and children and a Christmas at her place of business Plaza in Los Angeles Don Griesel CO from a various coal businessmen whose buzziness took her elsewhere. This has the unsee a happily family, but John is doing his best to make amends with his holiday visit, starting with a Christmas party being thrown by Hall's company. Filing a long reply, John decided to freshen up in Holly's office while she handled some things elsewhere. Taking the advice of someone he met on plan, he take his shoes after his toys on the corporation. These will also be a big mistake as a group of criminals arrive to shake up the party led by no-nonsense Hans Glober's Alana Rickman and his friend of a European goon-towing henchman. They intend to break out in Lactose World and steal this container within. They are not to assist with an agenda. They are not politically motivated. These are the trade of criminal who want money of money's sake and planning simple little due to know is separated from the rest of the party. Isa McLean the cop goes Reiko without his badge gun in hand and wearing a white tank. They're supposed to get very dirty and bloody just like he is barefooted. Oh yeah. John does an admirably job towards making his way to the band of armed criminal one by one. He even got himself a machine gun to maneuver. This came at a cost as McLennan has expanded most of his ammo. Exhausted himself physically and cut up his fascia something fierce in an reaction with the hands, and he is remaining underlying. Thankfully, after stealing a radio from one of the criminals, John McClane manages to establish contact with the police outside. He stays in touch primarily with Sergeant Al Powell, who becomes his most trusted ally. Eventually, the authorities decide to cut power to Academy Plaza, believing it will help end the crisis. However, this is exactly what Hans Gruber has been waiting for, as the power outage disables the building's high-security vault, allowing his team to access the fortune locked inside. Playing directly into Hans' plan, the FBI agrees to his demands and sends a helicopter to the roof, intending to eliminate the terrorists while minimizing hostage casualties. Unbeknownst to them, Hans never intended to negotiate. His real plan is to blow up the roof, making it appear that everyone including the hostages has been killed while he and his crew escape with the stolen money. John discovers the scam just in time and rushes to warn the hostages, successfully getting them off the roof before the explosion. He also appears to eliminate Carl, one of Hans' most dangerous henchmen. However, a television news report covering the incident reveals that Holly Gennaro is actually John McClane's wife. Hans immediately takes Holly hostage, setting the stage for the film's unforgettable climax. Determined to save Holly, John confronts the terrorists despite being battered, exhausted, and nearly out of ammunition. He has only 2 bullets left. Pretending to surrender, John tricks Hans into lowering his guard. Hidden behind his back is a small pistol taped to his shoulder. In one swift motion, John draws the weapon, shoots Hans and his remaining henchmen with remarkable precision, and appears to end the standoff. But Hans isn't finished yet. Mortally wounded, he crashes through a window and desperately grabs onto Holly's wristwatch, leaving her dangling over the edge of the skyscraper. Acting quickly, John unfastens the watch, sending Hans plummeting to his death in one of the most iconic villain deaths in cinema history. As the chaos finally comes to an end, Holly punches the intrusive television reporter who exposed her identity. John is reunited with Sergeant Al Powell, whom he has only spoken to over the radio throughout the night. Their meeting marks a heartfelt conclusion to their unlikely friendship. The danger isn't over just yet. Carl, who was believed to be dead, suddenly reappears for one final attack. This time, Al Powell overcomes the trauma that had haunted him since accidentally shooting a young boy while on duty years earlier. Drawing his weapon, Al shoots Carl and saves both John and Holly, completing his emotional journey and redeeming himself in the process. Meanwhile, Argyle, the limousine driver who had been waiting in the parking garage all night, crashes his limo into the criminals' escape van, preventing their getaway. With the terrorists defeated and the hostages safe, the survivors leave Academy Plaza as Christmas music plays, bringing the story to a satisfying close. As much as there is to admire about Die Hard, its tightly crafted screenplay, expertly paced action, unforgettable performances, and one of cinema's greatest villains, its most enduring legacy may be an entirely different debate. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? For decades, fans have been divided into two camps. Some insist it is one of the greatest Christmas movies ever made, while others argue that it's simply an action film set during the holiday season. The film's ending offers a strong case for the Christmas movie argument. It contains many of the classic elements associated with beloved holiday films, even though they were wrapped in explosive action and suspense. What do most people expect from a Christmas movie? Family conflict, meaningful personal growth, reconciliation, a happy ending, and a story worth revisiting year after year. Die Hard delivers all of these. John and Holly genuinely love each other, but the pressures of their careers have driven them apart. The Christmas holiday brings them together again, forcing them to face danger side by side. Through this extraordinary experience, John proves just how much his wife and children mean to him. Their relationship is ultimately restored, making family and not action the emotional heart of the story. The events of that Christmas forever change John's priorities. He learns what truly matters, repairs his marriage, and reunites with his family. The film ends on an uplifting note, accompanied by a classic Christmas song, reinforcing its holiday themes of love, forgiveness, and togetherness. Whether you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie or simply one of the greatest action films ever made, there's no denying its incredible rewatch value. More than 3 decades after its release, audiences continue to celebrate, debate, and enjoy it every holiday season. The internet will probably never settle the Christmas movie debate, and that's perfectly fine. But if there's one compelling argument in favor of Die Hard being a true Christmas classic, it's the emotional resolution at the end of the film. Beneath the gunfire, explosions, and unforgettable one-liners lies a story about family, redemption, and finding your way back to the people who matter most, and that's a message that fits the spirit of Christmas remarkably well. The success of Die Hard also helped redefine the action genre. During the 1980s, larger-than-life action heroes dominated Hollywood, but John McClane stood apart. He wasn't invincible, superhuman, or fearless. He was an ordinary police officer who was injured, vulnerable, and constantly pushed to his limits. The grounded approach made him one of the most relatable and memorable action heroes in film history, influencing countless movies that followed. The action genre of the 1980s was truly extraordinary. Films like Die Hard, Aliens, The Road Warrior, and Conan the Barbarian became defining classics of the decade. Their influence is so deeply rooted in pop culture that it's easy to overlook the many other outstanding films released during the same era. The following 17 movies rarely appear on lists of the decade's greatest action films, yet they remain just as essential for anyone who appreciates the genre. One standout example is Outland. Writer Peter Hyams originally wanted to make a traditional Western, but the project only received a green light after he reimagined it as a science fiction thriller. Life on the isolated mining colony feels like living inside a giant machine. Natural sunlight has become nothing more than a distant memory, buried beneath layers of steel and industrial machinery. Workers sleep in cramped, floor-to-ceiling bunks, bodies are routinely delivered to the morgue, and security offices stay busy round the clock. The scenery never changes, only the endless darkness of space, punctuated by flashing stars and warning sirens. The film also boasts an impressive creative pedigree. Costume designer John Mallow and composer Jerry Goldsmith had just finished working on Alien, while Ladd Company would go on to co-produce Blade Runner the following year. Because of this shared talent, Outland feels like it could exist in the same universe as Alien without contradicting a single detail. What truly sets it apart, however, is its old-fashioned Western structure. Beneath the futuristic technology lies a classic tale of law, order, and frontier justice, where revolvers are simply replaced with high-tech weapons. Then there's No Way Out, starring Sean Connery and Kevin Costner, Costner plays a young naval officer who begins a passionate affair with a woman he meets at a political event. Their relationship takes a shocking turn when she reveals that she is also involved with the powerful Secretary of Defense, David Brycia, who also happens to become Costner's new boss. Before anyone can make sense of the situation, the woman is murdered. Over the course of a single night, Costner's character finds himself framed not only for murder but also as the legendary Soviet spy Yuri, a supposed Russian mole hidden inside the American government. The twist is brilliantly ironic. He is assigned to lead the investigation to uncover Yuri, all while trying to stay ahead of the evidence that could expose him. Director Roger Donaldson perfectly described the film as a tense, feature-length chase, with every scene increasing the suspense until its unforgettable conclusion. Black Moon Rising offers an entirely different kind of entertainment. The film stars Tommy Lee Jones alongside Linda Hamilton, fresh from the success of The Terminator, while Hamilton makes the most of a role centered around a predictable romance. The true star of the movie is the incredible Black Moon prototype itself, built from a one-of-a-kind sports car concept. The futuristic vehicle looks like something decades ahead of its time, complete with an aerodynamic body, enclosed wheels, and an unforgettable design. It may have little to do with the political intrigue surrounding the story, but every time it appears on screen, it steals the spotlight. Tommy Lee Jones delivers one of the film's most entertaining performances, playing his role with complete commitment. Whether he's casually mixing an outrageous breakfast drink of milk, orange juice, instant coffee, and rocks, or commanding every scene with effortless charisma, he brings a unique energy that keeps the movie engaging from start to finish. Finally, there's Shakedown, written and directed by James Glickenhaus. By 1988, there weren't many unexplored paths left for the action genre, yet Shakedown still managed to stand out. The story pairs a straight-laced lawyer with a fearless undercover cop, forcing two completely different personalities to work together. Although they clash at first, they gradually become the unstoppable team they were always meant to be. Shakedown strikes the perfect balance between gritty crime drama and over-the-top action. The corrupt cops are genuinely menacing, but the film never forgets to have fun. The action sequences grow increasingly outrageous, culminating in a spectacular finale at an amusement park on Coney Island, complete with explosions, daring stunts, and pure action movie excitement. The film's heart is always in the right place, making it an underrated gem that deserves far more recognition than it usually receives.